from there and talk about something that is coming back to English football. It's been in other parts of Europe and Americas, but in English football, it's been banned since 1994, and that's about safe standing areas. This, as I said earlier, was banned in 1994 following a Taylor report that had to do with the Hillsborough disaster. Remember the Hillsborough disaster that took place in 1994, in 1989, I beg your pardon, where 97 Liverpool, fans died as a result of the crash that occurred during, that disaster that happened. As a result of that, you had standing areas, safe standing areas banned from football, or English football rather, in 1994. But this time around, the English clubs will now be allowed to, reintroduce safe standing areas to clubs. In other words, safe standing areas will be back to English football, and that's from next season, which is meant to commence on the 6th of August. And this will be taking place both at the top flight, which is the Premier League, and the second tier, which is the Championship division. For teams who would have to do this, they would need enhanced use of CCTV, and there should also be improved steward training and how to deal with fans who are standing rather than sitting. And the rule also requires that it should be one person per space. In other words, one person, one space when it comes to the safe standing area. As I said earlier, the German Bundesliga, this is a common, feature when it comes to the stands. It also it is also common when it comes to various stadiums in America, as well as South Asia, South America. So let's see how this pans out. For Liverpool Football Club, they still remember the 97 fallen heroes of theirs from the Hillsborough disaster in 1989, and it will be left. It's yet to be seen if Liverpool will decide to reintroduce safe standing arenas to their stadium. But it's quite a good one, it must be said. Now let's talk about Premier League clubs. Yes, and it's all about bans on sporting betting firms. Now it must be said that proposals to ban British football clubs from having betting firms as shirt sponsors are being touted to be dropped by the UK government. Now this is coming as a result of speculations over the long-term viability of gambling sponsors in the game, which has been mounting after the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sports launched a review of the Gambling Act in December 2020. At the time, multiple UK media outlets reported that shirt sponsorships could be outlawed by 2023, which is next year. And that meant that at the end of March this year, you had 20 English Football League and non-league clubs calling on the government to push ahead with banning gambling sponsorships on shirts. In April, the UK's Committee of Advertising Practice announced plans to ban betting adverts from featuring sports stars and social media influencers. You also have betting firms. The proposal also said betting firms will, be prevented from including teams' official kits and stadiums in any potential campaigns, as well as showing video game content. Now, these measures were meant to kick in from October 1st, and as part of a wide-ranging list of new regulations that intended to reduce the appeal of gambling industry to those who are aged under 18. But the proposal to stop gambling companies from sponsoring clubs have since been ditched, and this is because various clubs are now coming up to decide on how to go about it. It includes top-tier Premier League, though the government is reportedly hoping to reach a voluntary agreement with the clubs. Now, talking about voluntary agreements, it must be said that the Premier League clubs were notified on Monday. They got mails on Monday that they should decide on how to vote in terms of voluntary gambling ban. And now what this means is the 20 Premier League clubs would have to sit down and decide if they would, like to ban sporting, betting sponsorships or not. Now, this this will require 14 of the 20 clubs to agree on that. It will require 14 of them to agree before the motion is moved in that sense. But it's difficult to see how this will happen because as at last season, which is the 2021-2022 season, 10 of the 20 Premier League teams had sports betting firms as their sponsors, especially on the front of their shirts, which is the main shirt sponsorship deal. So it's difficult to see how an overwhelming two-thirds, 14 out of 20 clubs, will vote in favor of banning betting sponsorships when about half of the Premier League teams have various betting firms as their sponsors. Now, plans for a mandatory levy on the gambling industry will fund research as well as treatment of addiction, and this is based on the Polato Pays principle that have purportedly been rejected. The government has also said it will publish the white paper as part of its review of gambling legislation in the coming weeks. Again, all of these things, just a bit of back and forth here and there when it comes to the issue of gambling, to be or not to be. I think it will be difficult to see how companies, or rather teams, would be denied the privilege of having sponsorship deals with betting firms. Although some of them have taken that stance in terms of ditching their deals. Remember, you have Newcastle United ditching its deal with FunBet 88 as a result of that. You also have Everton as well doing the same thing. So let's see how it pans out. By next week, there will be a decision regarding who would get regarding what the teams would decide on in terms of the Premier League clubs. Will they go for no betting sponsorships or not? That's yet to be seen. Spanish top flight football club Sevilla have confirmed online investment platform De Giro as their new main shirt sponsor for the 2022-2023 La Liga season. Now, the deal will see the Amsterdam-based firm gain inventory on the front of Sevilla's shirts during the upcoming campaign, as well as becoming the Andalusian club's official investment platform. Now, De Giro replaces Naga after the fintech brand's deal expired at the end of last season, a deal that was reported 5.5 million euros per year, and now you have De Giro taking over just to continue with the deal. Although no official details were announced, it is said that this is an improvement from that of Naga that expired last season. Still talking football, this time around Italian football. Lega Serie A has extended its naming rights agreement for the Coppa Italia, that's the domestic competition, knockout competition, also known as the Italian FA Cup, if you want to call it that, with train operator Frecciarossa for the next 2 seasons. Now, the renewal is worth 5 million euros annually, and this is a deal that is coming even as Serie A president Lorenzo Cassini has informed the Italian media that the deal is a 30% increase on the previous deal. Having originally come on board as the competition's naming rights sponsor in November last year, the new deal will see the operator's parent company, Trenitalia, run until the end of the 2023-2024 season, and also includes Frecciarossa's designation as Serie A's travel partner. The partnership also includes naming rights to the Italian Supercoppa match between the Italian Serie A winners as well as the Coppa Italia champions. Still talking football, the U.S. Department of Justice has disclosed that FIFA would be compensated, or that it disclosed rather last year that FIFA will be compensated with $201 million for losses suffered from global corruption schemes by football's governing officials. Now, until Thursday, you had just $32.3 million remitted to FIFA. Now, the Department of Justice has announced that an additional $92 million will be distributed to the victims. Many of the officials involved in the schemes, which were largely related to bribes for media and marketing rights, were ordered to forfeit the assets they had obtained. More than 50 defendants from more than 20 different countries have faced charges since the corruption probe was unveiled in 2015. 4 corporate entities have pleaded guilty, with other businesses acknowledging their roles. Under the supervision of FIFA Foundation, which is a World Football Remission Fund created with the money, it will focus on women's and girls' football, education, safeguarding, youth programs, community outreach, as well as other humanitarian needs when it comes to making good use of these funds that have been repatriated. And that's about it when it comes to keeping you abreast of the latest sports business news. We'll go on another short break now. When we return, it will be time to wind down on the show.